All right, happy November, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Texas Public Podcast. Man, we had quite the day yesterday. I'm sitting here with Rudy. We're sitting down ready to cover some stuff tonight, and Penny's here with us. So Penny's got a lot to talk about, so we're super interested in getting her story and her feedback because she got a super sweet buck not too long ago. So what's going on, man? How y'all doing?
Oh, man, I'm here.
Hey, guys. How are you doing today?
What's up, Penny?
Not much. Just, trying to relax after a long day. Went out trying to scout a little bit and hunt today. So excited to be on this podcast for the first time. Kind of nervous, to tell my story, but I'm really excited.
No, I'm excited to hear the rest of the pieces of it because I know it was a pretty crazy week, and the way that y'all got on that deer was just kind of wild, and I know the story was pretty interesting to hear. So for those of you who don't know, I think we're going to kind of break down Penny's buck this podcast. So we're going to talk about, it was a public land buck she got with her bow, which is pretty insane. How many years you been? I mean, Penny, you've been hunting a couple years now?
So yeah, I've only been hunting. This is my third year. Most of it was a lot of scouting before even hunting, learning the difference of the terrains and everything like that. A lot of footwork. This is my actual first year with a compound bow. So I started off with rifle and I used the crossbow. My first year I shot some pigs, and then last year I got my first spike with a rifle. And then this year, the end of last year, Rudy bought me a bow, and I started doing a lot of practicing out in the yard and just shooting at that target, trying to get in, my grouping together and everything. And this year I went out and, I put in the footwork again, did a lot of pre-scouting with Rudy, and got out there and actually got it done. So it was kind of exciting.
So I kind of want to stop you right there right now just to get the listeners a little bit more about you. So just, a little bit more background, Penny. Everybody knows Seth and I, where we come from, what we do, and how we kind of got into this. I know you said you've only been at this for 3 years, so you don't have a very long hunting career, should I say, so far. But it's been an adventurous one, and I kind of want to get a little background in your outdoors background because I know a little bit more about you than these folks. So how did you really get involved in the outdoors? Like, did your family hunt or fish or camp or anything like that? Or
Well, I grew up with a fairly big family that we used to do a lot of outdoors, just camping. So we'd go full on back in California, family, uncles, aunts, grandchildren, going out. I did a lot of hiking, things like that. I actually did a motocross when I was younger and raced, dirt bikes and quads. So that was pretty exciting. So I've always had a passion for being outdoors. But getting into the hunting and fishing world, I always liked fishing. I'd never really been fishing, just like normal casting, until I met Rudy. All of y'all do know he's a huge outdoorsman, hunting, fishing. When we met, it was just listening to the stories that, he was telling me, the adventures that he would go on. It just really intrigued me where I wanted to learn more. And so as we went out, we'd go out scouting and he'd be showing me the different terrains, different feeding habitats. It's kind of really funny. So back home, I thought hunting would be super cool, but when I thought about hunting, I thought it was, this easy peasy thing. You go sit in a box, there's corn out there, they come out, you shoot them, bang, it's over. I didn't realize it was truly, getting to know everything about it, the animal that you're out hunting. It's knowing what they're feeding on, knowing the terrain they're on, knowing the difference in the wind, everything, and all of that, how much it matters until, actually getting boots out on the ground and going in there and knowing the difference between fresh poop and, old poop and things like that, and knowing the different signs of when a deer or, pig or whatever it is that you're hunting is out there. And I know just from the experiences that I've gotten from being with Rudy, I've just absorbed so much. So when I'm out there, I notice these things now, and I know the effects of when certain things, when they're hot and when they're not, when we see deer and we don't.
Yes, that's for sure. I mean, it's always a never a question if we're gonna see a deer. It's always about how fresh the sign is, and we're pretty quick to figure that out. Like, okay, it's been a while since these animals have been in here. We probably shouldn't stop here. We need to keep going. But anyway, so let's continue on. I want to. So you grew up in a camping and fishing. Whole family did the hiking and stuff background, and then you did a lot of motocross. So that kind of kept your passions around the outdoors, and you've always fished a little bit, and then you met me, and then it's just been full throttle ever since. Like, guys, this is kind of funny because, no joke, when I met this girl, and I got this big old balloon head, if you ain't ever met me, you'll never miss it. But I told her, I said, hey, I was like, you like to hunt or fish? And she's like, well, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like it, but I've never really done it a lot. And I said, yeah, well, you're about to do it a whole lot. And I said, something else about me you're going to learn. I'm pretty famous in the hunting and fishing world. And I said it just like that the very first time I ever met this woman at the park.
And it's so funny because the night that we met, this is the first time we'd ever met, and he's telling me this, and as he says it to me, I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, this guy, you know what I mean? He's really trying to put on a show right now. And I mean,
I look like a loser, dude.
Right?
Well, some things never change.
I ain't gonna lie. The bourbon was hitting, okay?
And it's just so funny, though, because, we've been together 3 years, and I mean, we'll go out fishing on the lake, or we'll be hunting in a spot that's not even like in our town, and we run into people that are like, oh my God, Rudy, I follow you on this, or I see you on this. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. 2 years later, man, he was not lying to me that day. So it's kind of been really cool because through that, I've been able to learn so much from him as well. So
I swear I'm the most underpaid, quote unquote, famous person in the world. It is what it is.
Well, yeah.
Putting your journey out there is definitely gets a lot of attention, especially when you're all right at doing what you do. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest fisherman or hunter, but I keep my freezer full, and you know that, Seth, because you're a big fisherman and hunter too. Like, we don't just eat deer meat; we catch fish and stuff like that. But
yeah. It's funny. We were talking about you on the last podcast. I don't remember if you heard, but we just kind of I was bragging on you at least because the first time we all got together and kind of went and did a scout, I was like thoroughly impressed, like how detailed you were. You're like, oh yeah, look at this browse over here next to this stump. Look at that. Oh, here's some fresh poop over here, and she's like looking close at all the browse sign, and she's walking and she's pointing at stuff, and I was like,
looked over too, like, what you need me for, man?
And I was like, man. And I was like, this ain't fair. I wish I would have found Rudy first. But
well, like I said, it's amazing. It's not only that he's so passionate about, doing it himself, he's very passionate about teaching people that want to learn. And I really clung to that because when he talks about things, he's so detailed to the little points of, you know what I mean? Just from the tracks of knowing like if it's a fresh track or anything like that. And so it's really been beneficial for me. And like I said, I absorbed it, like even he said it, I absorbed it like a sponge, and I try to use it to the best of my ability to do something to get a nice outcome for myself. So
yeah, you're not to brag on him too much with him in the room, so to speak, but he's pretty good teacher. Yeah, you're pretty fortunate because
I got a blimp now.
You're gonna float away if it gets any worse.
But okay, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was saying, just for perspective, when I picked up a bow, I didn't kill my first deer for like almost 4 years. I killed a squirrel, I killed a rabbit and a hog, but couldn't kill a deer. Missed some. Like, it's a slow process, let alone shooting a really nice buck on some public land somewhere. So.
And it's funny you say that, Seth, because I remember specifically having this conversation with her. Like, just because you're thinking, I was like, you don't understand what this bow's going to do to you. It's going to turn you into a hunter. You are not meant to kill a deer the first year you pick up a bow.
Yep.
That's where your learning curve starts. It's easy to grab a rifle and shoot a deer 100 yards away. It's hard to get inside of 20 yards on a good buck.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that changed. To me, that was the next level. And I explained that to her, and I said, you are going to turn into a hunter. It will turn you into a hunter, not a killer, a hunter. So that's how you become a killer, in my opinion. You learn how to hunt. You learn how to do everything it is to get to that animal and within range, right?
Yep.
But anyway, so let's go back to this whole Penny story over here. My head's big enough for the day. Anyways, so, all right, you've been taught some stuff. Let's talk about this season and how it unfolds. You were shooting your bow. I gave you a certain distance. You had to be in a certain grouping. You mastered that. I gave you the thumbs up. Season starts. How did your season go from the beginning?
Well, I mean, even before the season start, so we did a lot of pre-scouting. We have a couple different public spots that we'll go out and, hunt. Well, normally what we have is every year we take off a week from work, pre-rut. Is I think around pre-rut we take off where we'll go out in our spot, and Rudy's hunted this spot in a couple years past. I think it's 3 years. So the past 2 we've been together, we've gone out there, but he's never pre-scouted it. So last year he was like, all right, this upcoming season we are going to get in here, we're going to pre-scout this, we're going to learn the ins and outs of this land so we know when they're in there. Off season, that's a lot of what we did, going in these, spots and just kind of knowing, all right, where they're going to be. We put in a couple cameras. We did cell cameras, and we also did a trail camera as well.
So the
SD camera. So the couple we had seen a lot of bucks going on, and the one, we kind of just left it alone. After scouting it, we just left it alone to see what was going to happen. And so that was our preseason. Going into our actual season, I'm not able to hunt a lot when I don't take off that time for work. I'm off Thursdays and Sundays. We try to get in, so we've squeezed in a couple hunts in between. But our week approach that we took off, and we were supposed to be out there camping for that whole week, but it was really hot opposed to last year. Last year we had a really nice cold front during our week off, so it was easy to get in there. This year, because it was so hot, and we, tent camp, and we actually take one of our dogs because, we do tracking, and when we go out for our hunts, we always get a call for a track out there, and we weren't, wanting or willing to take our dog and leave him out in the tent while we get out there, so we kind of got a late start to getting out to our camping spots. So we actually got an awesome opportunity. Y'all heard the story where, Rudy got his 3-pack. We got the permission to sit on this private property. So initially the private property was to help me get out and shoot my first, deer with a bow. And so I think it was the day before we were getting ready to leave, we had went out to this private property, got set up in there, and it's not always as easy as you would think it would be, as easy as I thought it would be on private property, because you still have wind factors, private property too, depending on how close to, roads or anything like that. You have so much noise going on. But we got set up in there. I climbed up in the tree. We were right by, I think 18 yards from the feeder, something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm in the tree, and it's before light, and I'm sitting there and I'm pulling my bow back, and I'm like, all right, cool. I got this. It feels great. I pray in that morning, and I'm like, God, hey, can you do me a favor? Just, I've been putting in so much work. Please just let this line out. Let her walk out right in front of me. Let me,
Well, that sounds so familiar.
Yep.
I talk to him a lot, and every time we're in the tree, I do, even more. And I know Rudy talked about this last time too, and it's funny because it's so easy to talk to him. But that morning specifically, I was like, I have really been trying, let this be easy for me. So, daylight comes.
Oh, yeah.
all of a sudden we hear this doe come out. Well, actually, Rudy spots it because he's in another tree, and he's kind of out there just kind of watching with it. He spots it walking up, and this deer literally comes up. I mean, 16, 15 yards. Perfect. I mean, the most perfect shot that God could give me.
Big old nanny doe.
Perfect shot God could give me.
Probably the biggest doe I've seen all year.
And she didn't jump. She didn't run. Like, she's right there. She's standing still. I mean, perfect broadside for me. And I go to draw my bow back, and my arms become jello. And I could not draw for, like, I drew it back, and then it kind of like, I don't even know how to, like, explain it. My body convulsed, and my arms just kind of, like, let go. And she still stood there. And Rudy's looking at me in the other tree, like, are you going to shoot this deer or what? And I tried to draw it back, and at that point, she's looking at me, and she goes to deer off. So I totally missed that. It did not work for me whatsoever. And I mean, I was so angry at myself at this time. She ran off, and I missed that opportunity. And I was like, man, God set it there, did it, and here I am with buck fever on a freaking doe standing right here, and it was very nerve-wracking. I was really hard on myself. I mean, I was so frustrated with myself because I had been practicing so hard on the target. Sorry if I get a little emotional here, guys. I'm a lot like Seth. I'm a very emotional person.
Hey.
Exactly. No, you know what I mean? But I was so hard on myself because I had been practicing so much with my bow at home with the target. But it's such a different feeling when you're aiming at a live animal. It's way different than being with a rifle or anything like that. It was just, like I said, buck fever on a go.
When you can hear the deer breathing, smell them, you can hear them eating. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, you realize you're in their bubble, you're in their world, you're so close to them,
and you won. You won the game.
Yeah, because at least up to that, to that point, you won. Exactly what you said. Like, the harvest is almost a bonus, but like to get up to that point takes that's 95% of the work.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna kind of rewind a little bit. So, our season started. It was a real hot season. She got in a bow hunt. You'll guys see on the channel, but I had a really good hunt, saw some bucks, and then I got all that on film. Had a deer bedded, and then I ended up taking her into that spot, and we had deer walk right by us. So the week that she got to start the hunt, I'm going to tell you how it started. That she got to start the hunt is we didn't go take off out of town. We started over here closer to home, and it was in bow season. Like I said, I already had hunted in these areas at least once, and kind of remember I found a shed and some really heavy sign with some fresh poop and feed trees and all that. Well, I took her back to that spot on the second day, actually the evening of the first day. And then after that, I was like, man, I think we really need to come back in here. But the first day, we got in the tree and had like 4 deer walk right by us right at first light. And she never got a shot off at one. So she's got this luck, man. I tell you, more than anybody I know. I don't know if it's luck mixed with our skill, but if she's in the tree, deer are going to come out. I'm telling you right now. Okay? So, and then so that hunt happened. We didn't get an opportunity, and then we get down. As we come out, there's a deer right before we get down. I look over. I'm like, deer, and she's like, oh, I see it, and it's like going away from us down the edge of the SMZ. And I was like, all right, well, I'm pretty sure that's the same deer I've been seeing bedded over there every time I come in here. So it's no big deal. Let's just get out of here. And then I said, we'll go hunting here this evening. And then we go back, we hunt there, nothing, skunk hunt. And then, what
happened? Okay, let's rewind. So that was the hunt. So during that time, we saw the deer walk off, right? So he was off in the distance. And Rudy's like, okay, so that's probably going to be always, see out here. Let's go ahead and get down. It's still light. There, right when we walk out before we get to the actual passageway,
that was the evening.
We might be able to go ahead and, catch this, deer passing through here.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm scurrying down to get down the tree.
Let me ask you. I was going to ask you a question. When y'all hunt together, you usually in your own tree?
Yes. We
So-
started that this year.
Yeah, I kind of switched it up.
Yeah, so last year we did do 2 separate trees. I mean, we did 1 tree last year together. This year we've actually split it up to where we're in 2 separate trees for most of the time for it.
And you're using a climber, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
What kind
sir.
of? Okay.
I have a Summit.
How long?
Summit, right? Yes.
How long did it take you to get used to that? Did that make you nervous at first?
Honestly, the first time, yes. The first time we did it, with.
He was scared.
We weren't actually hunting. This is during our scouting trip, and this was like my first year out with him. That he was just, when we would go scouting, I would take the stand in with me and just practice getting up in the tree, moving around, getting back down, and stuff like that. So the first year, I was really nervous with it. As we've progressed, I've got a little more comfortable. I still have my moments, you know what I mean? It's dark, and if I've got my pack on and things like that, I am still a little bit nervous. I mean, I'm better at wanting to get higher now. Before I wanted to stay really low because I was nervous about getting too high. Now I'm like, I don't think I'm high enough. They're going to see me. I think that was my biggest struggle when we were in a tree together, was that I felt he was up higher, and then I was like, oh man, they can see me. But it's got I feel it's a lot better now that we're in our own trees, and I've got more comfortable being in there as well.
It works better with the lock on if I'm going to be in the same tree, because I can be at the same level as her.
Yeah,
because I can get my sticks and adjust my platform where I need it to be. As far as 2 climbers, it doesn't work. And my problem this year is I left my lock on up in Longview at my cousin's cattle ranch when I hunted it last year, and I haven't gone back to go get it. So, yeah, I've been strictly climber this year. I don't know if I told you that.
I don't think so.
I did some ground hunting too, though.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so y'all see that deer? Y'all see that deer walking away? Y'all are getting out of the stand.
Okay, and so I get down the stand first, right? So I scurry down because I'm normally he's still up there. He had the camera up there, and he had to get all the camera stuff down, so he was up there getting down. So I get down all the way.
This is the one time I was in the same tree, actually.
Yes.
I was up above her.
And so before I get down, I took my release off of my hand and put it in and I tied it to my bow, because I thought that we were going to be pretty much done. Well, I get down, and then as soon as I get down, he's finishing climbing down, and I heard this loud, something ground. I don't know what it was, and I was like, babe, did you hear that? And he was like, hear what? And then we're listening, and then all you hear is this tromping through the woods, and he was like, I don't know what it is, but it's coming towards us. And so we look out, and there's about 10, 15, 20, I don't even know. There was a whole bunch of pigs coming, running right towards us. I mean, directly aiming right towards us. And they get about 10, 15 yards. They were pretty close.
They were close.
They were really close. And he was like, grab your bow. And I grab, so I'm grabbing my bow, and I'm fumbling so hard trying to get my
I didn't realize that she didn't have her release
on. So I'm fumbling, and I'm just staring at these pigs running towards us, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're coming, and I can't get it on. And so he has his bow and with him at that point, and so he just goes to draw back. And when he drew back,
I drew back fine. I got settled. The pig was perfect broadside, and I go to release, and it goes 3 feet and hits the ground, and my bow derailed.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And then the pig afterwards, it literally shot right there. And then that pig.
And the pig was like,
you're like, haha. And there's
staring at us.
And then he looked at me and he's like, are you going to get your release on it? Now at this point, I'm like, okay, God, I got it.
He's just looking at us.
Yeah. I was just in awe. The bow blew up, and I'm like, the pigs are still standing there.
I was so mad. I just wanted to grab an arrow and chase one down and stab it.
Yeah, well, we tried to run around, so I finally got the release on, and we
did cut them off, but they didn't stop. They kept running.
Yeah, so that was one lesson I learned for bow hunting was your release goes on when you get out of that car, and it does not come off until you get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very big lesson that I learned from bow hunting. But yeah, so those were some of our hunts. We see animals every time, like we get in there, and it's fun.
Not every time. There's been a couple skunks. Well, we see squirrels and birds and stuff, so we see stuff. But okay, so that hunt happens, Penny, and let's see. We had a couple skunk hunts.
Yeah, we did actually.
And then we were like, it's hot. Like these deer are not wanting to move when we want them to move. But I remember that. So then I think we realized that there was going to be a system coming in about mid-trip. And we knew we were only going to be able to go on a camp for 3 days. And what was it, 4 days? 3 days?
4 days.
It was 4 days.
It was 4 days because it was 2 days before opening weekend.
Yeah, of rifle.
Yeah, of rifle.
And, I told her, I said, we need to take advantage of that, but we need to get there before the system comes. I want to be there for when it hits, because when it starts to slow down, I want to be in the woods. Mm-hmm. And I knew that was what we needed immediately. And so what happens, Penny? We get to town.
Yeah, we get there. It was a Wednesday night we get there, so the week before rifle season. So we get there and it's raining on us. So we're setting up our camp in the rain, not letting it hold us back, putting up our tents, everything like that. Half drenched, half not. Get everything set up that night. So obviously we didn't get to put in that evening hunt. So we kind of just relaxed at camp. The next morning was supposed to be a rain that was supposed to come in first thing. And so we didn't go out first thing in the morning because we didn't want to get stuck in the rain, in a heavy, heavy rainstorm. So we were waiting for, the rain to actually come through. Another thing besides the rain that was kind of against us was the wind was not in our favor. So the spot that we were out was the one that we had scouted for the season and put our cameras in. And the spot where our cameras in, we knew that there were big bucks that were out there moving. But the wind that Thursday morning was just not in our favor whatsoever. So instead of going to our normal spot, there was another spot that we had pre-scouted that wasn't directly where we knew they were going to be, but we knew there would be action somewhere in there. We just didn't know precisely where. So we went through there and we kind of J-hooked out, came up onto this ridge, like I said, where we knew that they would travel through. There were some oaks that were in there that didn't look like they were dropping heavy to where we were at, but we knew that there were some in there that were. So Rudy told me, he was like, we're sitting on there. As we're walking in, it's raining on us. So, we're getting these little pockets of rain. We're still trucking through because we know that
it's not true. Rain. It was a lot of rain. Okay. It was a lot. It was storming. There was a light. And I said, I'm sure glad we didn't come. I remember saying that.
I didn't feel like it was that bad, but it was bad. Thunder and
All right, so I got a question for anybody who's listening, so they can make sure that they get something out of that. What led you to that spot in the first place, and what was the setup you planned for that hunt?
So we actually had our stands on our back. It wasn't to slip hunt necessarily, but the way these woods lay out, they're real open and underbrush. Like there's beautyberry and a lot more beautyberry, not a lot of yopon, a lot of pine needle on the ground. So there's not that thick underbrush, not like there is in a logging area. Let's say for instance, right? I knew that these deer, the chasing had already started. I knew that. And I knew the bucks were cruising because I was getting new bucks on my cell camera. And the deer that she got, I got him on camera a couple days in a row, and then I got him. I got a really really big deer, and I was like, okay, either one of these deer are 100% game. I don't care if it's her first bow deer or not. Even though I was saying I was going to kill it, obviously I was going to film her shooting the deer. The biggest game plan I had was use the rain to help me slip in with her, because one person's hard, two persons like damn near impossible, especially on a good deer, especially after first light. I like to be somewhere set already there. So, but we have been so dry, Seth. I mean, it was like walking on, broken glass. It was just so loud. There was no way to be quiet. And then with that first rain, it made us like ninjas in there. We used all that noise, all that wind at our advantage. I mean, it was like I was talking basically like this, to the camera while we're working our way in. You'll see in the video, because it was so loud, background noise. Those deer couldn't hear me if they were 10 feet away. So my idea was, if we can't go to where I know my camera's at, we can at least get on the other side of this ridge and get up in a tree and see how they use it. That was my thought. An observatory sit on day one. Because I knew for the next 3 days was southeast winds the whole 3 days, and even though that system came in, so I was like, we're gonna have to utilize that to this advantage over here. We just need to figure it out. And so where we ended up wasn't where I wanted to be. It's just where we ended up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we were slipping, going through, and as I don't know if she caught it, but I noticed we were walking on some really fresh buck tracks. I mean, big ones. And it was not a defined beat down doe trail. It was you'd catch rub here, no scrapes, rub there. It was just going down. Then finally, when you got close to the ridge, the first side of the ridge, there was the first scrape. And I said, look, that's the first scrape I've seen since we come in here. And I said, that big oak is right over there. Let's go over there and check it. And it's giant. I mean, it's so big. All three of us could get together and we couldn't put our arms around him together. He's that big. It's a beautiful tree. I hope I get to find a way to put it in the video somehow. I didn't get any video of it while I was there, but I got a picture of it while I was there. Big giant oak. It's a white oak. And we get there. So hang on. We're going to let her tell more of the story.
Okay. So we get there to this beautiful tree. And this one didn't look like it had been beaten down or anything, or it was dropping or anything.
No, well, it was dropping, but it wasn't dropping a lot of acorns. Does that make sense? But the ones it was dropping, dude, were like bigger than like $50 caps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They were giants. They were huge. I was like, the biggest white oaks I've ever seen. But all the caps had been fresh ate. Like, all the acorns were gone on the ground. But it wasn't trunked down like a normal feed tree. That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, man, there's just a few tracks underneath this tree, but they're big tracks. And I said, man, this is probably where the bucks are hanging out, eating on top of this ridge in this big old pine thicket. That's what I told her. I was like, I'm pretty certain that's what's going on here, because when we were cutting up in there, I was cutting some really good deer trails going into there, but it wasn't feed tree sign. You know what I'm saying? It was just like they were passing through that tree.
Yeah.
So go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, at that point, when he noticed they were just like passing through, it wasn't heavy, beat down on them. He was like, there is another feed tree right up here, another oak right up here.
That we scouted.
Yeah, that we had pre-scouted, about 50 yards. He was like, just stay right here. And I want you to be looking off and glassing out here. Keep your bow ready. You never know. They can be coming out. So I'm standing there waiting, just glassing, looking through my binoculars, bow ready. And, a couple minutes later, I couldn't figure out what the sound was, but it was like, right? So and I'm like, where is that coming from? I don't know if you could hear that, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
um, so I look over and Rudy's snapping at me. He's snapping hard, and I'm like, okay, what? And he just throws his hands up like, big buck. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm about, almost 50 yards from him. And so I'm thinking, big buck on the ground. Okay, you've got to run from here to there without being loud because I don't know how far this buck is from him. So I'm trying to run quietly with my bow in my hand, ready to shoot it over to him, just trying to be sneaky. I get up behind him, and we're looking out. So in front of us, about 80 yards, I would say about that. What I see, all I see at this point is I see two bucks out here. One 6 point and one, I couldn't tell exactly what. I mean, I know he's
4 point.
Oh, it was a 4 point. Sorry. He was a 4 point. And then, I couldn't tell what the other one was, but I could tell he was big. And that was the one that
So there was 3 deer.
Well, I only saw 2.
There was 3, and the 4 point actually walked by us first when they came by. And then the 6 point came, and then the bigger deer came.
Yeah. Well, I only saw the 2. But at this point, I'm already overwhelmed.
I think she was like on the big rack. She didn't care about the little deer over there.
I just saw 2, and I saw they were like going back and forth with each other. And I've never seen bucks fight, really. Like I've watched a couple of YouTube videos and stuff like that, but I've never seen it up close and personal. And so these deer were like back and forth, running back and forth. And Rudy's like, be ready. And I know they're still pretty far out. And he's like, just be ready. And at this point, like they turn towards us and they don't notice that we're here at all. Like we're behind,
big old bush and using a pine tree.
Yeah, for blockage. And
it was a briar thicket.
Yeah, the green briar thicket. And then they come charging towards us kind of, and then...
It was not fun kneeling down in that stuff, Seth.
Oh, no, I had thorns in my knees for days. But so they come running towards us, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to hit us. And Rudy does a grunt, like a meh, like that, and it stops him in his tracks. And Rudy's like, shoot. And I was like, okay. And so I just get it, like, right set. Well, I thought I had it right set for it, but I was still nervous. I drew back and shot. Well, when I shot him, of course, the bigger buck, I shot him, and he kind of jolted a little bit, ran about, he didn't really run. He was like kind of,
yeah,
it wasn't a run. It was like a, trot off about 50 yards maybe.
It wasn't far.
Not that far. And when he did that, like he dropped to the ground.
We thought he was going to die.
Yeah, thought he was, but he started just kicking and like trying to get up. And I didn't see my arrow at that point either. So I was like, okay, did it pass through? What happened? Like trying to see what happened. But he was just sitting down there, like just literally trying to get up. And so Rudy was like, all right, we're going to have to go in a little bit closer because I don't think he's going to die. Yeah. So we go up, we're about 20 yards from it at that point, and he's still trying to fight and get up. So Rudy's like, just put it right behind his shoulder and, aim right there, draw, and, let it loose. And so I did, and he let out
it was kind of like a...
I don't even know what his sound was.
It's horrible.
It was
a long bellow / grunt.
Yeah. It was very traumatizing to me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but
that's another side of hunting.
It is. It's something
people haven't seen or may see sometime down the line. You never know.
I think it made me it really brought me closer to the animal when it happened. Like, and after that, that was it.
Well, so I'm gonna rewind a little bit. We're getting through this ridge, and I get to this oak, and I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, dude. We're making a lot of noise, even though it's supposed to be quiet. And it's just part of it. You got somebody new in the woods with you, and they're trying to do what you tell them, but it's hard because I tell her to look down, plan your next 3 to 4 steps, and then look back up because you need to be watching. And because I've been doing it for so long, I'm a little bit better, right? And I can slip real quietly. And she tends to make a little bit of noise. I'm a little frustrated. Anyways, I'm like, you know what? I was like, I've already picked 2 trees by this big white oak. Let me go slit 50 yards over here and see how it looks by these white oaks. And when I went over that ridge, I was following a deer trail. Well, let me drink some water. I'm sick. So I said, let me go over there and check this tree. I get over there. As I'm following this deer trail, I noticed steaming fresh poop, like 10 yards before I got where I saw the deer. And when I came over that, and I was like, man, I looked over to my left, and I just happened to catch a flicker right when it happened. It was his tail. And I just thought it was probably a doe, so I'm like, oh, there's a deer. And I'm trying to pick it back up because it blended in really good. And all of a sudden, I just see the jolt forward of the 2 deer, and then, bam, they lock up. And then the little 4-point come running in, and I'm like, oh, there's 3 deer over there. I'm like, they're all over there. I was freaking out. I run back, and when I went and got her, I remember snapping at her, and I only snapped twice, to be honest with you. The first snap got her looking for me. The second snap locked her in, and I just remember throwing my hands above my head like big bug, just like saying the words, hey, dude, her eyes, y'all seen the cartoons where the freaking eyes get real big? Hey, that and her mouth dropped. And I was like, come here, run. Go home, let's go. They're over here right now. They're getting it. I was like, they're fighting. She gets there. Dude, it was so fast. That like I said, every moment when it actually happens, hey, look, I told Mickey this, and I said, it's a life decision whether you're going to take the shot or you're going to get it on film. And you have to make that decision before it happens, right? Before that moment's gone. And I said, I get it. I understand, and a lot of the people don't understand how hard it is to film on public land. It's hard, dude. I give those guys props. But then again, those guys hunt way more open area than we do.
Yeah, not in the Piney Woods. When you first see the deer, they're right on top of you, and
that's right.
Half the game is seeing them before they see you, because once they catch movement on you, it's over.
It's over. Game over.
Yeah, you missed the initial shot because you were too focused on trying to get me quiet in there.
Yeah.
So when I did that initial draw, when they were coming towards us, it was not a lot of movement that we could be making.
No, there was no way. They were beelining to us. That's the problem. You know what I mean? So I get her over there. We pick the deer back up. I'm looking down, and I see the 4-point. And she's like, okay, I think I see that deer. And then there was the 6-point. And she's like, I for sure see that deer. And she's getting ready. And I'm like, that ain't him. I said, I don't know where he went. That ain't him. And I'm looking, dude, and he stepped out. I thought it was that big-ass deer, dude. I freaked out. I was like, it's a giant. He looks so much bigger next to the other 2. I was like, Penny, it's a giant. My heart was racing. I was hyped up, bro.
Oh, I'm sure that made her feel better. Penny, it's a giant.
Right? And I'm already shaking, right? I got buck feet and a doe,
Just breathing so hard, bro. I'm like, hey, he's going to hear you. Stop breathing so hard.
That's funny because, I practice square breathing. It's a way to calm your breathing down and stuff like that. And in my mind, I was like, okay, count your breaths. 1, 2, 3. And in my mind, I was like, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, okay, that's not slow. That's not slow at all.
So yeah, that 4-point went out about in front of us about 60 yards. He passed out in front of us. And like I said, it's open. We have the advantage. We're on the edge of the slope. The oaks are over here to my right. The cool thing is there's a creek that runs, like a drainage creek that runs. It would be east to west, basically, over there because the ridge runs north to south. That's like north from northeast to southwest. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so how that creek drops down right there, I think what they were doing was coming down because there's a doe bedding down about, it was 800 yards. But they hit that ditch and they run it all the way there. There's a pretty defined trail and a lot of rubs down it, stuff like that, scrapes, you know. And what happens to be where in order for them to run that, they would have to run that all the way to where my SD camera is. And needless to say, I know that's where he was going because that I've got pictures of that deer bedded the night before there for like 4 hours.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Back over there.
That was pretty crazy.
I know it was. But yeah, and that's all stuff you guys will get to see, man. It's really, really neat and awesome. That whole deer lived. That was his home. That was his house. That's why he was fighting those little guys off, and keeping his does safe. Because there are a lot of does right there. And I can't tell you how many does I've seen just sitting in the trees every time I hunt in there. I know they're different deer. But I do know, I've got that back cell camera. It's got a group of 6 does back there underneath that white oak. So those does brought in all those big bucks that you're seeing. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the regular does from the area. That's their native spot. That's where they live. That's their little home. But, so whenever that deer come passing by, the second deer come out, and then when I seen the third deer come out, I'm freaking out. And they come, not I wouldn't say running, they was trotting up, man, and they got close, and they kind of broke off to our right, the same direction, but it couldn't have worked out better. The wind was in our face. He come up, she took her shot, it was high and back, and I think as a tracker, we pulled it out, we got it, but it was in the spine, and I think when he was running, it hit a nerve or severed something in there while it was wiggling in there. We shoot buzz cuts. What are they?
The Magnus?
Black corn.
Magnus black corn. Is that what it is?
Yes.
That's what it was. Yeah. Magnus black corner, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
bro? Serrated edge?
Yep.
But anyways, yeah, that thing did some damage to the back strap, needless to say. Normally, that's not a shot that would end up in this kind of situation. This just happened to be a freak incident, dude. And, that deer was, not in the best shape. And I told her, this is the hard part of hunting that every hunter eventually may have to face. They have to follow up, And I said, it's our job to go finish this deer and not let him suffer down there. And I said, you've got to do it. And I got the whole moment on film, as tough as it is to see, but it got done. And that's her first bow deer, and it will never be forgot. And the respect that she had for that animal. And
I even kissed it on its forehead after it was
crying, the emotions. And she was just, it was just, it's a magical moment, buddy. When you see somebody that you've helped mentor her beginning hunting days to where that moment was to now the next one and the next one. And I told her, hey, don't expect to kill a deer every year. This is not a game. This is a chess match, and it's hard. So when you checkmate, it makes it worth it, And
I don't take any of this for granted because, since we've been together, I'm part of a lot of different little hunting groups and stuff, like the women's hunting group and even men's hunting group and stuff. I follow Southern Outdoorsmen and listen to them, and listening to a lot of these people talk, especially for bow hunting, most of these people say that they don't shoot any deer with their bow for the first couple of years. And so for this happening in my first actual year of bow hunting, whatever, it's a good teacher. But it really just makes me have a deeper appreciation for it. I do, I'm so grateful for it because I see so many people that they're on private land trying to get this done. And we've got a friend that's been doing this for a while, and it still hasn't happened for them. So it just means so much to me that I was able to have this experience my first year out bow hunting. So
yeah, because to kind of sum that up, you shot a deer, a really nice, was it 8-point or 9-point?
9 point.
Yeah, 9 point from the ground. Yeah, from the ground while you were walking into a spot after a rain. Like, what time was it? Probably 9 or 10.
10 o'clock. It was like 9:30, 10.
Oh, I mean, look, man. I think I immediately told you, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 10 o'clock because it was like it's right around. It was like right at 10 o'clock.
10:15.
Sorry.
Yeah, with the bow from the ground, just incredible 9 point, like on public land, like in the Piney Woods.
Nice,
like,
nice.
I mean, you can't. That's rare. That is so rare. Like, that's such a cool experience, and yeah, that's a pretty cool hunt right there, because that doesn't happen very often.
No, I can't tell you how many years I hunted. I didn't smoke a bunch of deer when I bought my first bow. I think it took me about 3 years. So
Yeah, it usually does. There's just a grace period there where you slowly figure it out, unless you have somebody to give you a couple of cheat code tips and kind of coach you along the way. It definitely speeds up that learning curve. But when you're kind of just feeling it out as you go and going out there and just screwing it up and sailing arrows and shooting logs and trees and it's just and spooking deer all the time. At some point, it seems like it's dang near impossible. And that's in the way that kind of hunt went down. I mean, I understand what y'all had to go through for that deer, but it definitely kind of brings a different level of compassion for every deer you attempt to go after.
Definitely.
Yeah,
dude, I'm over here like, why did I carry this freaking stand in? What am I doing? Like, golly, that was so much weight. It was so much weight, I took it back and dropped it off and just got back to the deer. Which I got done and back to the car by 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, that was a long drag out.
It was far.
Not only was it far, there was so much of that downfall.
Downfall.
Oh, my God.
Bad over there, man.
And then we had went back to camp, and one of the guys back at camp had let us use his cart, and that cart actually broke one half of his side of it. So that was pretty gnarly. I mean, I was blessed to have.
I MacGyvered something up.
Oh, yeah,
sure did.
I was blessed to have him help me drag that thing out. That's for sure.
I'm still hurting. It's been like a month.
That's a cue for the massage. I get it.
Well, we've had some magical moments lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday got a little crazy, but it wasn't too bad, right? I've had a lot worse, especially because I'm usually all by myself. I don't use.
Worse than that, dude. Hey, we quartering him out, dude. Rolling nothing out of there myself.
Hey, I think that's my shortest drag on record, let alone to have somebody help me. So that was like, dude, I felt refreshed when I came out of there.
Start hunting out of the truck, man. I can drive on the road. I'll show you how Rudy does it. No, I'm just kidding. But I do got a friend that does not leave his truck. He pulls into his pasture, he parks, and he's like, I got the heater on. If they come out, they come out. If they don't, they don't.
We're pushing up on an hour, so we're getting pretty close here. So Penny, what are your final thoughts on that hunt? What do you take from that going forward?
Just because things aren't always in your favor doesn't mean that you shouldn't persist and go forward using the things that can be in your favor. I think with that hunt in general, just I don't know, the whole experience was very emotional for me. It's utilizing the things that are at your fingertips, and I don't know, it's just a lot. Don't be afraid to get out there and try, even when the odds can be against you.
Yep, and me and Rudy talked about that hunt, stacking different things in your favor, whatever advantages you have, whatever they may be, utilize that, and then pair that up with a spot that matches that advantage. So no, that's a one of a kind experience, and you're like, I'm gonna use it, because to me it's like, I'll be ready for that situation next time. It's like that situation may not happen that way for another 5 or 10 years, and the next
But
deer,
if it
the next deer you encounter, it'll probably be a totally different situation. And it's just, that's what's so fun about it. Every single one is different, and every single one is special, and it's just, that's what makes it so cool.
No, that's definitely the truth. And if it ever happens again, I know I'll be ready.
Rudy, what you got? What are your thoughts on that, man?
Man, it's just same thing we say all the time, man. It's all about the homework you put in and the boots on the ground. It's not about, it's nothing on the internet is going to do the work for you. You got to go out there and do it. All we can do is tell you how to do it and what we do to do it and how we get our success. And if you do your own way, take advice from a little bit of here, a little bit of there, make your own can of whoop ass and tag out, baby. Get out there and tag out on public land because it's possible. It's possible. So, and I think that you'll see further down the line, just watching and listening to the people that come on here and their living testimonies of how they do things out there. Because, hey, we're here to learn too, baby. You know what I mean? Like, we're here to take advice from other people. Like I said, we're nothing. We're like you guys. We just been doing it a little bit longer. We got a little bit better. We're just trying to help you cut that curve. So I think that's the conclusion of this. Do your homework. Put your boots on the ground. Don't be afraid to scout during season. Hey, they're still out there running right now. Be in the tree.
Yep, you can start there, huh? Be in the tree. But no, you read my mind on that one, because I was definitely planning on reiterating that. Don't get mad at myself or you or us for when your strategy doesn't work out, because we certainly don't have all the answers, and you're not supposed to, right? If you had all the answers, it wouldn't be hunting. But we're here to learn, to kind of promote everybody and encourage everybody to reach out and just discuss what they do with us, and hopefully we get to share that too, because we get to learn so much. I mean, we've talked about this on past podcasts, that kind of the biggest driver of kind of like why we do we kind of put ourselves out there is to kind of, create those opportunities to engage and learn, talk to people, get better, because it certainly helps a ton, man. You can't underestimate it. Like, let alone if somebody's willing to go out there with you and you guys spend the day together. But if you're just sharing those details on what works, it gives you ideas on what you want to try and make your own. And that gives you confidence, because that's what ultimately it comes down to. We're all going to do things a little bit different, but whatever gives you confidence that when you go in there, like I think I've got a pretty good shot today. When your head's in the game, that's a huge factor. Showing up and having your head in the game, that can't be underestimated for sure.
That's it. That's for sure. Mentally prepared, 100%.
Yep. Well, all right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up this evening, man. Wanted to ask everybody, ooh, excuse me, don't get me sick too, man. Did you say you were sick?
Man, I've been having a runny nose, man.
Oh, that ain't nothing. Jeez.
No, he's been having a sore throat. Don't let him fool you.
Well, all right, guys.
Hey,
well, don't be afraid.
I was coughing on my deer today, and they still came out. That's
He was like coughing. He's like, I'm sorry. I was like, it's all right. They came right up afterwards.
Oh, I like it. So, all right, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor and take 30 seconds to hop over and leave us a review, and we can read it on air. I want to start kind of collecting those, where we can gather that feedback, read them on air, and leave us a 5-star review. Reach out, let us know how things are going, if you got any suggestions, and also don't be afraid to share it with a buddy. Share it with your Texas friends. We got a Texas public podcast out there for everybody, and let these guys know that we can hunt hard here in Texas too. So we really appreciate it if you share it with your hunting buddies, and let them know that we got a podcast out there for them, and we got more coming down the line. It's just insane, the season that's going on. We're so lucky, and we can't wait to share the rest of it with you guys. So appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for checking out the podcast, and we will see you on the next one. You like it?
I think it was really good.
Man, hey, Penny is a natural. Let's just say that.
I was so nervous.